Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to meticulously deconstruct what is honestly a ridiculously dense creative brief. What we've got here is the blueprint for a 10-second cinematic FIFA World Cup 2026 match preview. Now, usually when we think of a script or a brief, we picture pages and pages of dialogue and scene descriptions, right? But today, we're looking at this incredible exercise in pure brevity. We're going to analyze just a single paragraph, a hyper-condensed set of instructions that's engineered from the ground up to create a viral, absolute showstopper of a clip. We're going to look at the psychology, the visual mechanics, and honestly, the sheer technical precision required to grab and hold attention in today's digital age.
The source immediately sets the stakes. We're talking giant animated text, putting us right on the precipice of this specific international clash. It acknowledges a really fundamental rule of modern media. You have a tiny fraction of a second to establish context before someone keeps scrolling. By demanding giant animated text displaying Austria versus Jordan, the brief doesn't sit around waiting for the viewer to figure out what's going on. It physically dominates the frame with the matchup. It anchors you instantly, turning a casual swipe into a high-stakes viewing experience before your brain has even fully processed the image.
And notice how this leads straight into the ultimate hook, a glowing scoreboard question specifically designed to drive instant viewer engagement and suspense. Asking who will win isn't just a stylistic choice, it's a super active mechanism for retention. You aren't just showing an audience a sequence of pretty images, you are demanding their cognitive participation. When you read a question in a video, your brain instinctively tries to formulate an answer. It can't help it. This glowing scoreboard effectively traps the viewer's attention right at the climax of the reel, practically guaranteeing they watch until the very last frame. And, honestly, maybe even loop it a second time.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to cover the 10-second vision, creating stadium atmosphere, directing the pitch action, the cinematic polish, and finally, those viral technical specifications.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 10-second vision, mapping the match prediction reel.
Even though the source text is just a single paragraph, we can logically map out the requested flow of the entire reel from the stadium entrance to the final cliffhanger. Think about how wild that is. In a traditional film, establishing a location, building up the conflict, and delivering a climax takes 10, maybe 20 minutes. Here, that entire narrative arc is ruthlessly compressed. The beginning sets the stage with the teams under the lights. The middle accelerates your pulse with pure action, and the end delivers the punchline with that glowing scoreboard. It's a complete three-act structure playing out in the time it takes to take a deep breath. Moving right along to Section 2, creating stadium atmosphere, setting the scene. Notice how the brief uses specific environmental triggers to instantly capture our attention. The source demands high sensory amplification. Look at these specific callouts: a packed stadium, bright floodlights, crowd reactions, waving flags. The brief doesn't just ask for a soccer field, it asks for a modern-day coliseum. It emphasizes these elements to establish a massive, epic scale before a single ball is even kicked. It's totally designed to make you feel the weight and that deafening noise of the World Cup, using these purely visual cues to trick your brain into experiencing auditory and physical scale.
But here's the crucial point. The environment isn't static. The prompt explicitly calls for an escalation in the atmosphere. It's not enough to just show some fireworks. The text specifies that the atmosphere must intensify as fireworks explode. This implies a real compounding of energy. The visuals have to get brighter, the implied noise has to get louder, and the stakes must feel continuously higher as those 10 seconds tick down. The brief is essentially acting like a conductor, constantly raising the tempo and the volume in perfect synchronization.
Which brings us to Section 3, directing the pitch action, bringing that kinetic energy.
The instructions combine these rapid-fire, physical moments to simulate the raw, high-stakes reality of an international sports clash. The prompt explicitly isolates dramatic tackles and powerful shots. It's absolutely not asking for a slow, methodical build-up of passes in the midfield. It demands the highlights, the visceral collisions, the sheer kinetic energy of the sport, stripped of literally all its downtime. By stacking these highly active phrases together, the brief ensures that the middle of this reel is just a relentless assault of movement, leaving the viewer no chance to look away or lose interest.
Next up is Section 4, the cinematic polish, where we dive into the post-production magic.
This juxtaposition beautifully highlights how the brief requires grounding the viewer in physical reality while simultaneously dazzling them with hyper-stylized digital editing techniques. On one side, we have the grit, the tackles, the flags, the screaming crowds. But then, the brief demands speed ramp transitions, flying sparks, and lens flares. It's basically asking to take the gritty reality of a football match and inject it with the visual language of a summer blockbuster.
You know those speed ramps, where the footage slows down to a crawl to emphasize a super dramatic moment before snapping violently back into fast motion? That artificially manipulates time to maximize emotional impact. It is pure post-production magic applied directly to a physical sport.
All of this merges into a highly specific visual vibe. The prompt demands the gravitas of a documentary paired with the addictive qualities of a viral clip. It literally uses the phrases sports documentary cinematography and viral football reel aesthetic in the exact same breath. It wants the prestige, that serious dramatic lighting and framing that you'd expect in an award-winning film, but it needs it heavily weaponized with the fast cuts, sparks, and graphics that perform incredibly well on social media algorithms. It's a fascinating hybrid, high art lighting meeting pure internet adrenaline.
Finally, let's unpack Section 5, Viral Technical Specifications, the digital packaging.
10. That is the magic number. The entire brief hinges on extreme brevity. All of this action, all of this atmosphere and polish must be delivered in exactly 10 seconds. The source text literally says exactly 10 seconds. This is the ultimate creative constraint. Every single tackle, every flying spark, every giant animated letter has to violently fight for its existence within this rigid time frame. It forces absolute efficiency. There's zero room for a single wasted frame. This number represents the ruthless economy of modern digital attention spans, and honestly, it's what makes this brief such a complex puzzle to solve.
And then there's the shape of it. This specific aspect ratio requirement guarantees the content is natively structured for modern mobile viewing and maximum viral sharing. The prompt doesn't just want a great video, it demands a video custom-built for your smartphone screen. Vertical 916 means the visual action isn't playing out side to side across a living room TV, it's playing out top to bottom in the palm of your hand. This completely changes how you frame a shot, how you stack elements like fireworks above the players, and how you display that giant text. It ensures the reel takes up 100% of your screen, blocking out all other distractions and fully immersing you in this micro-experience. Now, despite being a short social asset, the prompt demands an aesthetic quality that rivals or even exceeds a top-tier premium television broadcast. We're talking about terms like ultra-realistic, HDR lighting, and premium television production quality. The days of low-resolution, shaky phone footage dominating social feeds are completely ignored here. The brief insists that even though this is a hyper-fast, vertical, 10-second clip, it absolutely must possess the immaculate lighting, the dynamic range, and the pristine graphics of a multi-million-dollar live broadcast. It demands absolute visual perfection.
And it all culminates here. The visual resolution of the text leaves us with this HDR-lit premium graphic that perfectly frames the rival teams. All the speed ramps, all the tackles, all the flying sparks resolve into this single, highly polished image. By having the Austrian and Jordanian flags explicitly facing off on a glowing scoreboard, the brief ensures the video ends on an image of completely unresolved conflict. It's a striking visual cliffhanger that lingers in your mind, perfectly fulfilling its role as a match prediction reel. It builds the tension to the absolute maximum and then deliberately leaves the answer blank. So looking at this incredibly demanding 10-second recipe, it really leaves us wondering if this densely packed format is the new standard for capturing fan attention. We've just seen how a single paragraph can command a massive, multi-sensory, highly technical piece of digital art. It blends the grit of reality with the polished perfection of HDR lighting and speed ramps, all crammed perfectly into a vertical screen for exactly 10 seconds. So the question we walk away with today is this. As our attention spans continue to evolve, is this kind of relentless, ultra-realistic, highly targeted micro-content the ultimate future of how we will engage with global events like the World Cup? It's a pretty fascinating thought to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.